birthdays.
Hello.
Come on in.
How are you?
I'm
How are
doing
you?
well. You know
Great.
the drill. Put the coffee
Yep,
down.
yep,
Maybe
that's
get a little
right.
handshake. I appreciate it. And as always, it's the dueling notes.
Yeah, well, so, this is Braille, luckily, so I can actually read it. Because there's less possibility of a lawsuit.
So you know how I like to do it. I like to talk about last week's column,
Yeah.
things going on maybe next week. It's funny. Got a lot of feedback from last week's
Oh,
column.
that's too bad. Yeah, I had a few bomb threats. Yeah.
I think mostly
Yeah.
the looking to combine potentially Central Falls and Pawtucket.
Yeah, that's
a lot
been-
of folks didn't think maybe.
Well, some people make the argument Central Falls maybe should be combined with a richer town like Lincoln or Cumberland or something, but I think that's politically impossible. It ain't gonna happen. Well, Central Falls is very tiny. Of course, it's right next to Pawtucket. That seems to me more possible, more plausible. Be difficult to do. Some people say, well, they should just combine things like supply chain stuff, purchasing, that kind of thing. But I just think Central Falls is too small to be a city. And if with adequate state help, I think a merger could work out very well. Geographically, you look at a map, it's a naturally unified city. Of course, even better, I should add, would be if they merged with Providence, and Providence also merged with Cranston, and you had what you have in most of the United States, which is cities that take up a lot more space. The New England problem, or opportunity, whatever you want to call it, has been because of colonial time and corporations. The cities are very small in area. Hartford, Boston, Providence, very, very small. If Providence were a city in Arizona, it would have, about 1.3 million people and take up area about the size of Rhode Island.
Yes, from a geographic standpoint.
So there may be all kinds of economies of scale if don't just stop at Central Falls and Pawtucket merge the whole urban complex.
You've talked about merging Rhode Island in itself with
Yeah,
other
well,
states.
splitting it up by between
half
the
to
two
Mass and half to
states,
Connecticut,
and half to the Virgin Islands, maybe a little bit to the Virgin.
Half to the Virgin Islands. Yeah, there was a lot. It was interesting the feedback to that. A lot of folks had questioned, but as you said, it just could not possibly be feasible to go with a more affluent community.
No, I don't think they would allow it. I'm not against it. I think it's a fine idea, and technically the state could force it. People forget that the towns and cities are technically legal children of the state, so the state can do whatever it wants, but they wouldn't do it. There'd be too much squawking. So
I thought it
as a
was
starter,
interesting, just some food for thought, as you often do in your
combine
columns.
resources, efficiencies of scale, not get rid of duplicate administrations.
It's funny that you start mentioning that, because one of the other items you mentioned in your column was lifespans, obstetrics plan.
Yeah, which makes no sense at all, except it's a way of trying to divert more customers to lifespan, which get them when they're having babies. And then the idea is that, okay, you've got the patients and the families in there, then send them to other lifespan places, not Care New England places. And the big argument, so far as anyone could figure it out, was that, well, this would be a great thing because lifespan's based in Rhode Island. But as we discussed last week, actually, lifespan will soon be absorbed into another system, out-of-state system, almost inevitably. I would be shocked if within 2 years lifespan is still based in Rhode Island. Could be wrong, the economy is unpredictable, but I think probably, as we muttered last week, Beth Israel, Deaconess, one of the other big Boston systems.
Well, it'll be interesting because they've, as you said, indicated their interest in this, but these things don't happen overnight, nor do they happen in a bubble.
Very, very complicated from a regulatory standpoint, financial standpoint. You've got all these different administrations that would have to be merged. Would there be duplications of clinicians? Probably in some places. But that obstetrics thing's just ridiculous. Set up another, great. While women and infants has overcapacity, set up another obstetrics operation right next door to it. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Speaking of duplicative efforts, let's go down through the column. I had some interesting thoughts on Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I think Puerto Rico, the future. And the Republicans would not like this because they would assume, probably understandably, rationally, that initially Puerto Ricans will vote for the Democrats. I'm not sure that would happen in the long run, since Puerto Ricans are also apt to be rather socially conservative. But I thought, okay, Puerto Rico is bankrupt in large degree because of its bizarre Commonwealth status, its association with the United States, not as a state. It's a territory of the United States. The people there cannot vote for U.S. president. They can't vote for members of Congress. They have a guy sort of watching things for them in Congress. But it seems to me in the long run it's better simplify that, make it a state. And the other advantage of this would be sort of solidify the American presence in the Caribbean. If this were truly a state, 51st state, it would be better for security, I think.
Would this be politically viable in your opinion?
No time soon. Maybe, I think in the fullness of time, however, it will happen.
Huh, you heard it here first, May 11th, 2017.
Yeah, what do you mean by the fullness of time? I think, say, maybe within 10 years or something like that. There are, about 3.5 million people there. I mean, the politics, there's probably, the Democrats would probably have to get back into power before it got rolling. Having said that, the national security thing is most attractive to me. Make it part of the United States, fully a part of the U.S. That would tend to fend off nasty people trying to get into that neighborhood.
And it's interesting, anytime anyone mentions bankruptcy, the conversation inevitably comes back to Providence.
That's right.
It's all about us.
Yeah. Clear the deck. So we've talked about this ad nauseum. I realize that, but it's my view. While bankruptcy is complicated, it's difficult, it can be demoralizing for a while. If it's done right, it makes things better. It clarifies the situation. Get rid of a lot of old contracts that were handed out, what's the right word? Blithely, shall we say, politically expediently in the past. Get rid of them and start all over again. Reform the city administration. You could do all kinds of things. And Providence is particularly attractive because Providence has so many great things going for it. It's really the second largest city in New England. It's a great location. If they could get rid of all this garbage that was left there by, especially by Mayor Cianci and some of his predecessors.
Well, it clearly would take some political courage or fortitude on behalf of...
I mean, nobody wants to be mayor of a city that just declared bankruptcy. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing, but
But if someone were to run on that platform, now we have an incumbent mayor, obviously, with 18 around the corner. We'll keep an eye on this, but Josh Fenton on Business Mondays had Michael Riley on. I'm not sure if you got to see that, Michael.
I didn't see that. Did he
talked about, he thinks a bankruptcy is not the worst thing.
Along the same lines,
yes.
Clear the decks.
Clear the deck chairs on the Titanic.
And of course, I may be overstating this a little bit, but I've been following closely what's happening in Detroit, which is, huge mess, and it's getting better.
One last thing from your column last week I want to talk about before we move into next week. Trump's indications of possibly looking at raising the federal gasoline and diesel tax.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's a user tax, therefore it's fair. It's been more than 20 years, more than 20 years, almost 25 years since they last raised it. If this thing were dedicated only to transportation infrastructure, including mass transit, because more and more people would be using mass transit because the aging population, and because the young people, even younger than you,
Who's that?
they don't drive as much.
That is true.
The business of you can't wait to get your license when you're 16 and jump into your car. That's changing a lot. So, but especially the aging population, these people are going to be taking mass transit, so we need a lot more money there.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, if or when, how quickly this could happen, because let's be honest, there's a couple things going on in D.C. right now that seem to be taking a lot of the...
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a horrible feeling. I covered Watergate a little bit when I worked for the Wall Street Journal. I wrote a column for the Wall Street from time to time called Worldwide, and covering it, and there are certain shades of this, even though this is sort of crazier. Because in the Trump scandal, you've got a foreign power, a vicious, foreign, corrupt dictatorship intervening in an American election, and you have a very, very strange man, even stranger than Nixon. Nixon certainly had his tremendous amount of baggage. A very strange, undisciplined, ruthless, corrupt, mendacious character like Donald Trump.
What did you think when you heard the news about Comey being fired?
Well, the timing surprised me a little bit, but then, we all read what's been going on the last few weeks. His argument for firing, that turned out to be a series of lies, too. Because if he wanted to fire Comey, because the way Comey handled the Hillary Clinton email controversy, he could have fired him on January 20th. So, I think the instigating factor in this, the timing of this, was that As has been reported, Comey has been asking for more money, more people to pursue the Russia case. And yes, people keep talking about the people around Trump. Trump himself is very much involved in this. And there's a nasty word that's sort of circulating a bit. That word is treason. It's pretty scary.
We talked with Sara West yesterday down at Brookings in D.C., and he had actually...
He has very impressive hair, by the way.
He's got a lot of hair. He had written a piece right after the election called, 4 kind of potential Trump presidencies. Said he could either be a traditional Republican, a popular rogue, a failed president, or an authoritarian leader. And at his discussion yesterday, he made his case for saying he's edging towards authoritarian leader. Well, would you put the label authoritarian?
I think he would like to be authoritarian. He's run his Trump organization, it's not this privately held company in an authoritarian kind of mafioso way. I don't think he can be that successful authoritarian. They'll try to quash all these investigations. There'll be all this corrupt stuff going on. But I think it's just too complicated for him to pull it off. There are too many leaks. There are people in the deep state, as they say, that are pushing back against him. As you know, he won very narrowly, to say the least. He won 3 million fewer votes than his opponent. And I don't think he's got that he doesn't have the skills of administration, especially political administration, nor, despite the Republicans controlling both houses of Congress, does he have the political depth and weight.
So if he wanted to be an authoritarian, he couldn't?
I think it'd be very difficult for him. I think it'd be very, very difficult.
So what are we expecting from McCollum this weekend, Bob?
Well, let me see, what are we talking about? Okay, a couple of things, happy things. They're going to build they're going to build apparently a big wind farm south of Martha's Vineyard, 15 miles south of Martha's Vineyard, but south of the hedge funders. They won't be able to see it, so they won't be able to stop it, unlike Cape Wind.
Sound like the NIMBYists last time up on
That's right.
up on the Cape.
I think this is going to happen, and I could foresee a time in, say, 20 years where southern New England is, from an electricity generating standpoint, totally independent.
Did you tell us the potential, the Saudi Arabian coast here?
Yeah, right, the Qatar coast. Another thing I talked about was vaccines. I'm very troubled by the cranks like Bobby Kennedy Jr. and, of course, President Trump for condemning vaccination. And as a result of this, in some places have been measles outbreaks, a big one in Italy, Bulgaria, and Minnesota. And this is being attributed to the anti-vaccine lies being circulated by.
Did you see there was mumps at URI recently?
Oh, gross. Right. Of course, when I was a kid, everybody had all these things. So I think it's very troubling that President Trump has spoken out against vaccination. Bobby Kennedy, I'm actually more tolerant because he's a disturbed person. Very disturbed person.
So we're talking about wind, we're talking about vaccines.
Yep.
Any other hints? You got notes here.
Yeah,
you got your
it just goes on. It's like the Bronx telephone book here. It just goes on and on. More, let me see, anti-vaccine. More about the Industrial National Bank building, Industrial Trust building, which unfortunately is sheathed in limestone, which erodes very rapidly, as we can all see. I've suggested something like this in the past, but I want to emphasize this even more strongly. Keep the bottom of it, the first couple of floors, with the beautiful decorations, the Art Deco bas-relief and all that stuff. Keep that, tear down the rest of it, pull down the rest of it, put a glass tower with a green light on top.
So keep, like a partial demolition, if you will.
Yeah, partial demolition. Keep the bottom where all the beautiful stuff. The rest of it's impossible. It's stepped, which makes it very difficult to fix the utilities, very, very awkward, very expensive. If this were in Boston, there'd probably be enough money to do it, but not here. I think that could be pretty exciting. Just keep the bottom, and then have this glass thing rising from it. And you could even do, some wags suggest you could even do an outline of that, in the tinting of the glass.
Keep the original sort of intense.
Right, like that. You'd have the green light, the top, that sort of incinerator top there.
Isn't there a fountain up there now with like a...
Apparently it's quite vicious.
I think I saw it up there.
I think I just saw it. I
wish we could turn the camera
it's on a helicopter. I don't know.
Or is that what the Zeppelins were supposed to land?
The Zeppelins, that's right. That was the Hindenburg was supposed to land there. We're very glad it did not.
That was just, they had the anniversary about just this weekend.
Yeah. That's where the line, "Oh, the humanity" came from, the famous recording of, and you can hear it on the old Edward R. Murrow recording, "I Can Hear It Now." People should get that record.
They should, and they should get it because I think a lot of folks think, oh, the humanity comes from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
no.
that's where they stole. It's just plagiarism wherever
yes,
you look.
we need to go back to the original source, though.
It's a terrible world.
Bob Whitcomb, I appreciate your coming into the studio as always. Before you take off, I did give a little plug for the upcoming Providence Committee on Foreign Relations dinner.
Yeah, very interesting. It's about sustainable seafood and about some fishing groups, especially Chinese, fishing out the ocean. And where are we going to go, with this? How are we going to protect our seafood?
And which date is this one?
This is next Wednesday, I believe, next Wednesday.
If that's of interest, the Providence Committee on Foreign Relations. And then the one in June is Dr. Terrence Rory.
That's right, about North Korea. That should be chilling. And it's about how they're going to, the dictator is going to take out Quonset. No, I'm just putting that out there.
Oh.
To raise attention.
What is he talking about?
And then the final one is about the Silk Road, which started, between China and Europe. Yeah.
Very good. Well, we'll a couple of interesting upcoming meetings, and we'll look for your column this weekend, and we'll see you back in the studio next week. Okay?
Cheers.
Bob Whitcomb, I'll let you
Bye-bye.
on the corner. Take your coffee.